Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, I thought was a tremendous win for Brian Kelly. We said last week we really did like Mississippi State going into the game. I thought it was a matchup that favored Mississippi State because of their experience, Will Rogers, the comfort level that he had coming in, running Mike Leach offense. And first things first game ball's got to go to Matt House, right? The LSU defense and what they were able to do and what they were able to get better and improve upon in the short time period of the last time we saw them in a big game. What was the biggest gripe about LSU's defense was third downs, right? They couldn't get off the field. On Saturday night, they stymied Mississippi State. 3 of 14 State was on third down. They were 1 of 4 on fourth downs was the LSU defense. They strangled Mississippi State in big game in big down situations. And I thought the key move of that was moving Jay Ward to the nickel spot. I mean, moving Jay Ward to the nickel spot feels like he's a bona fide All-American candidate. I mean, he is everywhere. He's physical. He comes up and plays around the line of scrimmage. He had the big play at the end of the game to seal it. He is, I mean, to me, he should be the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. I know that, I mean, I watched a lot of football this weekend. I watched a lot of SEC ball. There was a lot of high performances. But on the defensive side, I didn't see anybody better than Jay Ward. And if there was a better performance, it was probably B.J. Ojulari. Because B.J. Ojulari, through Saturday night, I mean, he was unblockable at times. I mean, he was on the quarterback. He was on Rodgers and in the backfield very early on. So my first shout out, I guess we could drop it right here, right? What the Shuck. Compliments of our friends over at Carlin Oyster Company over there in Acadiana. A really cool concept that they got going on over there in Acadiana with great experience with our friends over at Carlin Oyster Company, which we have every Monday morning here for What the Shuck, where you can check them out if you log online. And I'm going to get you this web address here, Bayou Carlin Oyster Company, and that is at BayouCarlinOysterCo.com, BayouCarlinOysterCo.com. Grilled oyster kits, shucked and buttered oyster kits delivered right to your door. They do the shucking, you do the grilling. Use the promo code Jordy over there to save yourself 25% on your initial purchase over there at Bayou Carlin Oyster Company. Every Monday morning we do What the Shuck, and What the Shuck first here on Monday morning is LSU's defense standing out. Matt House deserves a huge attaboy for the way that LSU has improved, right? I mean, let's be honest here in year one. What are you really looking for under the direction of Brian Kelly? Do you think they're going to compete for the SEC? I don't. I'd be shocked if they're representing the West in Atlanta. I don't have that anticipation or expectation on LSU here in year one. What I would love to see is for them to get better each week to where when November rolls around, you got a lot of positive energy going into the offseason for LSU, thinking of what next year could be. They've done a really good job of recruiting. It looks like a lot of these true freshmen that they've brought in, they've hit on, including Harold Perkins on the defensive side. Quit taking him off the field, man. Just leave him out there. He's one of your best 11, and he's always around the football. LSU's defense is significantly more athletic with him and Baskerville out there. We talked about that last week. You looked up on Saturday night. Both of those guys were out there, the predominant of the downs, and they were making plays. Both of them, all over the place. So first things first, LSU's defense off the top I thought was phenomenal and continues to show signs of improvement, which that's what you're looking for in year one, right? Continue to improve, make the adjustments, put the guys out there that deserve to play, put the guys in the right spots. Moving Greg Brooks to the free, moving Jay Ward up to the nickel, that was a great move. I mean, you could see both guys really benefited from that, and the overall defense was flying around out there. I expect Jay Ward to be the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. I would be surprised if he's not in that discussion. But both of those guys having some new faces and new spots and new guys out there, I thought was really good to see. And then the old faces, guys like B.J. Ojulari, still flying around and making plays. But third down defense jumped out tremendously. Defense is improving. Offense, look, we talked about it last week, man. Emory Jones was getting first-team reps. Don't be surprised if he gets out there very early. He started the game, and that was LSU's best performance on the offensive line, I thought, start to finish. Sure, there were some things that you would have liked to have seen, but I thought all in all, the LSU offensive line played phenomenal, and you had 2 true freshman tackles in the game. Emory Jones, how impressive is that dude? By the way, Emory Jones in studio with us tomorrow morning. Compliments of the G team. But that offensive line, I thought, was phenomenal with those 2 guys playing the bookend. And Emory Jones showed you the athleticism, showed you how impressive he was in the special teams when he tackled a guy in the open field on punt. That was unreal. That was 335 pounds moving laterally, diving and wrapping up a skill player in the SEC as a true freshman. Say that out loud. I mean, like, that is so impressive. There's not a lot of guys that can do that. There might be maybe 1 or 2 on Georgia's roster, maybe 1 or 2 on Bama's roster, maybe 1 or 2 on A&M's roster. Outside of that, you better look long and hard around the SEC before you find a starting right tackle making an open field tackle in special teams. I mean, as a true freshman.
I know nobody really wanted to see him celebrate that, but he got up fired up.
Hell yeah, he got fired up. Are you kidding me?
I know you're 40 yards down the field, but he was
335 pounds in the open field, man.
Coming to get your ass.
With an SEC skill player running down at you.
I was watching it again last night, and I was like, wait, who? I was like, oh, that's Emory Jones. Like, that's why he got up and was like, he was like kind of flexing a little bit. I was like, who celebrated 50 yards downfield? I was like, oh, it's because he's the right tackle trying to save the game on special teams, which my what the shuck is special teams.
What the shuck special teams?
What's going on over there?
Well, I mean, look, we mentioned it. Defense getting better. Offense getting better. Special teams staying neutral. You know, I mean, special teams going to cost you.
They already have.
It's going to cost you again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's still in a place where you don't trust it. You don't trust it at all. And speaking of trust, it looks as if Brian Kelly, for the first time, was urging his quarterback to make some plays. I thought Jaden Daniels, again, phenomenal. And let me say this off the top. I thought Matt House deserved a game ball off the top. You know who else deserves a game ball? And it looks like every single week is Jake Flint. Because LSU is so in shape and the better team in the second half again. They beat Florida State's ass in the second half, and specifically in the fourth quarter 2 weeks ago. They did the same thing to Mississippi State on Saturday night. In the fourth quarter, LSU was dominant. They had fresh legs. They were in shape, and that is so refreshing to see, man. I mean, like, really, that LSU is such in shape. I mean, they're so well conditioned. I don't know how else to say it, but I mean, like, in the fourth quarter, they get better. In the second week of the season, third week of the season, very good sign to think down the line on where LSU can be, you know, in mid-October, you know, early November, when this thing, you know, when you're in it. But, I mean, if you're talking about what the shuck, Jake Flint, conditioning staff, incredible offseason. Team looks like they're in phenomenal shape. Matt House, LSU defense, third down defense obviously has improved. You move some guys around. Jay Ward goes to the nickel. Greg Brooks to the free. You move, you shake some things up with Harold Perkins getting in there and staying on the field. Micah Baskerville, totally different look. Offensively, you slide Emory Jones in. Your offensive line plays consistent. Jaden Daniels again. You know, I think through the first start of the game, he's kind of confused, kind of trying to take some time on trying to figure it out, what's he's looking at. But you know, I thought deep into that game, he made really good choices and made some plays down the stretch that, you know, really put you in a good opportunity to win the game. He's got to improve on throwing the ball. He's got to improve on seeing things. I mean, he had Jack Besh on an out route wide open on a third down where he just totally missed him. He had Malik Neighbors in the end zone where Neighbors, had his hand up where, he threw it to Kayshawn and missed him. He was rolling left one time and had Kayshawn down the sideline and kind of tried to throw it with open shoulders,
that was down
the sideline. That's when Brian Kelly kind of stepped out onto the field. And if you watch the TV copy of it, he steps out there and, he kind of like coaches him through it. He's like, turn your effing hips and throw the ball. He kind of says, turn your hips and turn your effing shoulder and throw the ball down the field. And he's like, come on. He's urging him kind of like, and then he does the same thing on another fourth down when he misses Neighbors when he's rolling left.
Brian Kelly was coaching his ass off.
Yeah.
Like I watched the TV copy obviously last night as well, and you could see every time they come off the field, he's either meeting with Jaden Daniels or meeting with the running back. He's always very involved in trying to get them. Like, you could see that the process is taking time, and he wants to get, obviously wants to get better every game, but they're still figuring it out as they're going.
No doubt.
And he is trying to, people were making comments about him in week 1 where he said that it looked like he looked lost on the sideline. He's just kind of taking it all in, and then he makes his evaluation and judgment, meets with the quarterback on the sideline. And he's, like I said, this is not the final form of LSU, and certainly not the final form of a Brian Kelly LSU football team. But a win like Saturday night is such a stepping stone. As bad as the Florida State loss felt, that's as good as you feel beating Mississippi State, because you're kind of, all right, you righted the ship a little bit, even though you don't have the boat all the way built.
No, that's the good. Now the bad, special teams has got to improve. I don't know what needs to happen first, but as impressive as Emory Jones was in the open field making that tackle, the first thing I thought out loud was, do they have the right personnel out there? Do you really want to see your starting right tackle going one-on-one with a skill player in the open field? Emory Jones, he won the battle on Saturday night versus Mississippi State. I don't want to see him do that every single week